I'm going to music special, and can't you tell that I feel swell? I'm gonna clap along and sing my favorite song, and all to listen music special. Hi everyone, and welcome back to music class. I thought that I would start by updating you on my progress learning the harmonica, this little instrument here. My progress has not been good because I have not been practicing this instrument. I really need to set aside at least 10 minutes a day to try to learn. And you can learn, I can learn, just by having fun with it, just by playing with it. That's really one of the best ways to learn anything, I think, is by having fun. Anyway, we're going to learn today about the flute and what instrument is that, and we're also going to learn a little bit about reading music. So I hope you're ready. Let's get started. What instrument is that? What instrument is that? How does it sound? Where is it found? But first of all, you must tell me now, what instrument is that? Okay, I found the flute card from the instrument card deck. It's the King of Hearts. Let me read the description to you. The flute is among the earliest known instruments. The modern concert flute is made of metal, generally nickel, silver, gold, or platinum, and its tone is created by blowing across an opening in the mouthpiece. The flute does not use a reed. Ethnic varieties such as Japanese, Chinese, and Indian flutes exist as well. The concert flute's key is C, and the tone ranges from breathy to brilliant, with the pitch sounding in the treble register. It is played in bands, wind ensembles, and orchestras. So what does all of that mean? Well, let's go over it. The flute is among the earliest known instruments. Well, that just means that the flute is very old. In fact, I remember reading somewhere that they found a flute that is 40,000 years old, which is incredible. The modern concert flute is made of metal, generally nickel, silver, gold, or platinum, and its tone is created by blowing across an opening in the mouthpiece. Well, the first sentence told us about very old flutes, and then the next sentence tells us about modern flutes, so there's a kind of contrast there. That flute that they found, which was 40,000 years old, was not made of metal, because it's only much more recently that humans have been able to make metals and to use them for various purposes. And the metals which are listed here, nickel, silver, gold, or platinum, are the metals that flutes are made out of. The flute does not use a reed. Well, this goes along with the previous statement about how you play the flute by blowing across a hole in the mouthpiece. A reed is like a little wooden piece that goes into some instruments, but not the flute. For example, a reed could be used in a saxophone or a clarinet and other woodwind instruments like that. Ethnic varieties such as Japanese, Chinese, and Indian flutes exist as well, so flutes are a common instrument across the world. The concert flute's key is C. Well, that just tells us basically what notes the flute plays in. And the tone ranges from breathy to brilliant, with the pitch sounding in the treble register. Well, we're going to see what the treble clef is in a little bit when I talk about how to read music. And in terms of the tone of the flute being from breathy to brilliant, well, those are just the kinds of sounds that the flute can make as it plays. It is played in bands, wind ensembles, and orchestras. So those are the kinds of formations that you can usually hear flute music in. Now let's listen to a famous performance, or I should say a performance of a famous piece, which is written for the flute. Okay, everyone, let's talk about reading music a little bit. When you first see a piece of music, you'll notice that the notes are written on a series of 5 lines and 4 spaces, which are, of course, in between the lines. You will notice the title of the song at the top of the page, the composer of the song underneath that, probably. But when you actually get to the music part, one of the first things that you'll see is one of these symbols. Maybe you'd like to try to draw this at home. Start with a curve, go around, twirl up, bring it nice and tall, bring it back, and then a line that goes straight down and a little dot that you color in there at the bottom. Something like that, anyway. This is called the treble clef. The treble clef shows us the notes which are normally played with the right hand on the piano. It's a different clef that we don't learn in elementary school called the bass clef, which looks something like this, that the left hand plays. But for our purposes, we're only going to learn about the treble clef. So let me just erase the bass clef. Okay, today we're going to talk about what notes go on each of these spaces and lines. But first I just want to talk a little bit about, well, what music is and how one would write something like music down. Because it wasn't just like all of a sudden somebody said, hey, I have a great idea, I'm going to make this clef and these lines and there's going to be notes on there and it's going to look like this. No, it took hundreds of years of development for us to finally have something which looks something like what we have today. When you look at the notes on the musical staff, the higher the note is, the higher on the piano it is. And the lower on the staff it is, well, the lower on the piano it is. So it's a very visual kind of representation of where the note falls. But which note actually goes where? Well, on the bottom space, F. Above that, A. Next space up is a C. And the top space is an E. Of course, if you're paying attention, you may have noticed that that spells a word. The word is face. And that is often how beginners remember what note falls on which space. Face, F-A-C-E. Now, on the bottom and the top and in between the spaces are lines. Let's see what notes fall on the lines. On the bottom line is E. Next is G. Next up is B. Then D. And the top line, F. Well, that doesn't spell a word, but people often remember this by saying, every good boy deserves fudge. And in Europe, every good boy deserves football, which of course is soccer for us. Now when you look at a musical note, if it is supposed to be on a space, it will be right in the middle of the space. It'll be a dot which is filled in, or maybe it's not filled in, maybe it has a dot next to it. But the point is that the dot is the note, and it usually comes with some sort of a stem, a stick. So this note is F. If I want to draw a note which is on a line, I have to put it right on the line. And that note is G. So if I were to play these two notes on the piano, I would first go to F, play it, and then I would go up one to G and play it. So how can we figure out where these notes are on a piano? Well, it takes practice, but let's see if we can just get an idea first. I want to show you how to find a C on the piano. If you look at a piano keyboard, you'll notice a pattern. Sometimes there are 2 black keys and sometimes there are 3 black keys. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and it goes on. It's a little bit different at the very bottom of the keyboard. So we're not going to worry about the very bottom of the keyboard right now. When you look at a keyboard, find where there's 2 black keys next to each other. The key which is right to the left of those 2 black keys is a C. So there's 3 C's on this keyboard. Let me fill them in. So we can now fill in the rest of the alphabet. After C comes D, then E, then F, then G. After G, we start over at the beginning of the alphabet, which is A, B, and you see that I've fallen right where I belong with the next C. D, E, F, G. Start over again at A, B, C, D, E. So if you can find a C on the piano, I would encourage you to look for the C which is closest to the middle of the piano keyboard. It sounds like this. That note is called middle C for obvious reasons. So let's say that this one is middle C right here. I can find any of these notes by counting up from middle C. C, D, E, F. There it is, F. Or I want to find an A. I suppose I could count backwards. I'm not sure counting is the right word for what I'm saying. But I could skip backwards in the alphabet, C, B, A, C, B, A, there's A. So really, without knowing too much about reading music, you can look at a piece of music and figure out what it would sound like on the piano. I know that this is F. It's the F above middle C, actually. So I can find middle C and skip up to F. C, D, E, F. There it is. And if I know this one is F, I know that this one is going to be G because it's the next one up. So it's easy to play on the piano from there. While I have all of this written, let me show you how middle C is written on a piece of music. It's down here, and we draw a little line through it. So this little line tells us that if the staff were to continue, this would be the next line down. So we know that the last line is E. The space then below E would be D, right here. D, and one below D, which is on a space, as you can see, would be C, which is on a line. I'll just write in a little D here, and C. That is middle C. Some would say kind of like the home key on the piano keyboard. Anyway, if you have any questions about what we've talked about today, I'd like you to write your question to me and I will respond to you. Next time, perhaps we'll learn a little bit about rhythm. So there's really two different things when you're reading music, if you think about it. How high or low the note is, and how long you hold each note for. Are they fast? Are they slow? These are the things that we'll learn about in the coming lessons. So I will talk to you later. Well, thank you for coming again and for paying attention. I hope you learned something today, and I will see you next time.
Well, I'm going to music special, and can't you tell that I feel swell? I'm gonna clap along and sing my favorite song, and all to listen music special.